1973, in a Catholic convent in a small hamlet outside the city of Akita, Japan, Sister Agnes Sasagawa, in the Japanese chapel of the Eucharistic Handmaids of the Sacred Heart, experienced the first of many.
A quiet nun named Agnes Sasagawa in Japan once said she received messages that many people did not believe, but some people never forgot them. Those messages spoke about fire, division, and a future where the world would face deep problems from nature and from powerful groups inside the church. Now in 2025, people are asking a worrying question. Were those warnings and prophecies only old stories, or are they starting to match real events happening today? What if it was never just history? Join us in this video as we discuss the details. Sister Sasagawa's chilling prophecy is unfolding. Sister Agnes Sasagawa was allegedly born in Japan in 1931. From the very beginning, her life was not easy. She was said to be a weak child who struggled with sickness. Many people around her feared she might not survive, but she did survive. And as the years passed, she grew into a young woman. Even though she was alive, her health problems never truly left her. Her body remained fragile, and suffering became a normal part of her life. When she was 19 years old, she allegedly went into a hospital for what doctors believed would be a simple operation. It was supposed to be a routine surgery. Nobody expected anything serious to happen. But something reportedly went wrong. When she woke up after the operation, her life had changed. She could no longer move normally. Her condition became so serious that she was allegedly diagnosed with paralysis affecting her nervous system. Doctors reportedly told her that she might spend many years confined to a hospital bed. The years that followed were filled with pain. She allegedly underwent 11 surgeries. Each operation brought hope that things would improve, yet the suffering continued. Day after day she remained in the hospital. Month after month passed. Then years passed. Many people would have lost hope under such conditions. But during this difficult period, something happened that would change the direction of her life forever. One of the nurses caring for her was a Catholic woman. The nurse reportedly felt compassion for the young patient. At some point, the nurse brought water from the famous spring at Lourdes in France. The water was known among Catholics because many believed it had been connected to healings. Sister Agnes allegedly drank the water. The church never officially declared what happened next to be a miracle. However, according to reports, her health began to improve afterward. Slowly, she became stronger. Little by little, she regained strength in her body. Eventually, she was able to leave the hospital. After spending years unable to walk properly, she was reportedly walking again. Those difficult years also changed her heart. While recovering, she spent a great deal of time thinking about life, suffering, and faith. By 1960, she made a decision that surprised many people around her. She wanted to become a Catholic. This was not a common choice in Japan, where Christians were only a very small part of the population. Her decision reportedly caused concern among some people she knew. A Buddhist priest allegedly met with her and tried to convince her not to convert. He explained his views and hoped she would change her mind. But she remained firm in her decision. She believed God was calling her in a different direction. After her baptism, she received the name Agnes. She later joined religious life and entered a convent. For years, she lived quietly. Her days were simple. She prayed, worked, and served others. There was nothing that made her stand out from many other religious sisters. Yet behind that quiet life, strange events were allegedly beginning to unfold. In 1969, while praying the rosary during a period of illness, she reportedly experienced something unusual. She later claimed that her guardian angel appeared to her. Several years later, in early 1973, another problem arrived. She began losing her hearing. Sounds became weaker and weaker. Voices became harder to understand. Doctors examined her condition and allegedly informed her that the hearing loss was serious and incurable. By March of that year, she was reportedly completely deaf. At only 42 years old, she could no longer hear the world around her. Around this same period, she received an invitation to join a small convent in northern Japan near Akita. The convent was located in a quiet area surrounded by nature. It was far from large cities and far from public attention. Sister Agnes accepted the invitation and arrived there in May 1973. At first, everything seemed ordinary. The sisters followed their daily routine of prayer and work. Life appeared peaceful and simple. Then, according to reports, something unexpected happened. While praying alone in the chapel one day, Sister Agnes allegedly noticed a brilliant light coming from the tabernacle. The light was unlike anything she had ever seen before. It appeared extremely bright and filled the area around it. She reportedly felt unable to move and remained kneeling in prayer. The same event allegedly happened again on other days. Unsure of what was taking place, she informed the convent chaplain and local church authorities. What happened after the mysterious lights appeared, and why did a simple wooden statue soon become the focus of worldwide attention? Let's find out. The statue, the messages, and the tears. The strange events at the convent allegedly became even more unusual as the weeks passed. The bright lights that Sister Agnes reported seeing continued to concern the people around her. Church officials listened carefully to what she said, but nobody fully understood what was happening. The convent was still a small and quiet place. Most people outside the area had never heard of it. Yet, events were reportedly unfolding there that would later draw attention from many parts of the world. In June 1973, Sister Agnes allegedly experienced another unusual event while praying in the chapel. During a time of worship, she later claimed that she saw angels gathered around the altar. According to her account, they appeared to be praying and honoring God. The other sisters present reportedly did not see what she saw. For them, everything looked normal. But for Sister Agnes, the experience felt very real. Not long after this, she allegedly felt a sudden and intense pain in the palm of her left hand. The pain was sharp and difficult to ignore. When the hand was examined, a wound reportedly appeared in the shape of a cross. At the center of the cross was a small opening that allegedly bled. The pain became stronger over the next several days. Reports claimed that the suffering was severe and continued for a significant period of time. Church officials were informed, and the wound was observed and documented. A few days later, another event allegedly took place. During the night, Sister Agnes reported that her guardian angel appeared beside her bed. The angel allegedly instructed her to go to the chapel. When she arrived there, she claimed that the wooden statue of Mary seemed to glow with a bright light. Then something happened that surprised her more than anything else. Even though she was reportedly completely deaf, she claimed to hear a voice speaking to her. According to her account, the voice addressed her directly and spoke about prayer, sacrifice, and offering suffering for others. The voice also allegedly told her that her deafness would one day be healed. For Sister Agnes, this experience was especially shocking because hearing any sound should have been impossible according to her medical condition. The next morning, another sister reportedly examined the wooden statue. What she allegedly discovered caused great surprise. On the statue's hand was a wound that appeared similar to the wound on Sister Agnes's hand. Reports claimed that the wound showed signs of bleeding. The similarity between the two wounds became one of the most discussed parts of the story. As the months continued, Sister Agnes allegedly reported receiving more messages. One message spoke about the need for prayer and repentance. It called on people to turn away from sin and seek God with sincere hearts. Another message reportedly warned that humanity was moving further away from God. The message encouraged people to pray for peace and to make sacrifices for others. Then came the message that would become the most famous. On October 13, 1973, Sister Agnes allegedly received a final message. According to reports, the message warned that if people did not repent, a great punishment could come upon the world. The warning described fire falling from the sky and causing destruction on a massive scale. Many people later connected these words to fears of war and global conflict. The message also allegedly spoke about troubles within the church. It described a time when church leaders would disagree with one another. Cardinals would oppose cardinals. Bishops would oppose bishops. For many people, these words became one of the most discussed parts of the Akita story. Some believed the message was speaking about future divisions and conflicts within Christianity. At the same time, the message offered what it described as a source of protection. People were encouraged to pray the rosary regularly. They were also encouraged to pray for priests, bishops, and the Pope. The message stressed faith, prayer, and trust in God during difficult times. After these messages, the bleeding wounds allegedly stopped. The pain that Sister Agnes experienced reportedly disappeared as well. Even today, the story of Sister Agnes Sasagawa remains one of the most talked-about religious mysteries of modern times. Supporters see the events as signs from heaven and warnings meant for the world. Critics remain unconvinced and continue to search for ordinary explanations. How did a quiet life of suffering and prayer turn into a story that the world now links to warnings, disasters, and strange events still being discussed today? Let's delve deeper. The warning returns, and the world begins to pay attention. According to reports, Sister Agnes allegedly received another message in October 2019 after many years of silence. The message was said to have come through her guardian angel. Unlike the dramatic warnings that had drawn attention in the 70s, this message focused on simple spiritual actions. People were encouraged to pray the rosary every day, wear ashes as a sign of repentance, and offer sacrifices for the sins of the world. On the surface, the message sounded simple. Yet many believers later viewed it differently because only a few months after the reported message, the world entered one of the most difficult periods in recent history. The COVID-19 pandemic spread across nations and affected billions of people. Countries closed their borders. Businesses shut down. Churches stopped holding normal services. Families were separated, many people became sick, and many others lost loved ones. Fear spread across the world. For some followers of Akita, the timing of the 2019 message allegedly seemed too important to ignore. They believed it had been a warning that difficult days were approaching. As the years passed, other events added to these discussions. One of the most talked-about parts of the Akita warnings involved destruction coming from above. While people interpret those words in different ways, many supporters began looking at the growing number of natural disasters taking place around the world. Wildfires became one of the biggest examples. In Canada, entire regions were covered by smoke as fires burned across huge areas of land. Millions of hectares were destroyed. Communities were forced to evacuate. People watched the skies turn orange as thick smoke spread across cities. The images shocked people around the world. Similar scenes appeared in California, where large fires destroyed homes and forests. In Greece, flames spread through communities, forcing residents to flee. In Chile, fires also left destruction behind. For many observers, these disasters were simply natural events caused by weather conditions and climate factors. But for some believers, they allegedly looked like reminders of the warnings that had been spoken about decades earlier. They saw fire, destruction, smoke-filled skies, and communities struggling to survive. Whether one agreed with that interpretation or not, the similarities became a major topic of discussion. Volcanic eruptions also attracted attention. Iceland experienced powerful eruptions after years of relative quiet. Lava flowed across the landscape, and authorities monitored the danger closely. In Indonesia, volcanic activity disrupted lives and covered nearby areas with ash. Entire communities were affected. Again, scientists explained these events through natural geological processes. Yet some followers of Akita believed the increasing number of such disasters reflected a world entering a difficult period. Alongside physical disasters, many people also pointed to growing spiritual and moral problems. Around the world, there appeared to be increasing division, anger, and conflict. People disagreed over politics, religion, and social issues. Communities seemed more divided than before. Trust in institutions weakened. Many believers felt that society was moving further away from traditional values. Another issue that received attention was the increasing number of attacks against churches and religious symbols. Reports emerged from several countries describing acts of vandalism against places of worship. In France, many churches allegedly experienced incidents involving damage to sacred objects. Statues were broken. Religious items disappeared. Some church buildings were damaged. Similar reports came from the United States. Statues representing Jesus and Mary were allegedly vandalized in several locations. For many Christians, these incidents felt deeply painful because the objects represented their faith and beliefs. While law enforcement often treated these as criminal acts, some believers viewed them as signs of a deeper spiritual problem. Nigeria also experienced tragic incidents involving attacks on churches. Reports described violence that resulted in deaths and destruction. Some attacks allegedly occurred during worship services. These events shocked many people both inside and outside the country. Religious leaders called for peace, while believers prayed for protection. To followers of Akita, these incidents were not viewed as isolated events. Instead, many allegedly saw them as part of a larger pattern. They believed the world was experiencing increasing hostility toward faith and religion. Whether these interpretations are correct remains a matter of personal belief. Yet, there is no doubt that the events caused many people to revisit the warnings associated with Akita. As discussions about these signs continued, attention also returned to the woman at the center of the story. Many people began looking again at how Sister Agnes lived her life and why her example continued to inspire believers decades after the original events. Her story was not simply about messages and warnings. It was also about prayer, sacrifice, suffering, and a life lived in quiet faith. After all the warnings, events, and global reactions, what really happened to the woman at the center of the story? And how did she live out her final years in quiet silence? Let's learn more. The life, legacy, and final years of Sister Agnes Sasagawa. Sister Agnes Sasagawa allegedly lived a life marked by long suffering, deep prayer, and quiet service. Before any attention came from outside, she was simply a nun living inside a small religious community. Her daily life was not filled with fame or public attention. Instead, it was simple and strict. She woke up, prayed, worked, and followed the rules of her religious order. Everything in her life was centered on silence, discipline, and devotion. Her early life was already filled with pain. She was born in Japan in 1931 and allegedly suffered many health problems while growing up. Her body was weak, and she often faced serious illness. Later in life, she was struck by even greater suffering when she allegedly became paralyzed after medical complications. She spent many years in hospitals, going through multiple surgeries. During this time, she was almost completely dependent on others for care. These long years of sickness shaped how she viewed life. She began to see suffering as something meaningful, rather than only painful. It was during her time in the hospital that she allegedly came into contact with Catholic nuns who cared for her. They introduced her to Christian teachings. Over time, she became interested in the faith. After long personal reflection, she made the decision to convert to Catholicism. She was baptized and later chose to become a nun. This decision was not common in her cultural environment, but she followed it with strong personal conviction. After joining religious life, she entered a small convent in Akita. Life there was quiet and simple. She was known for being obedient, humble, and serious about prayer. Even though she was deaf later in life due to illness, she continued her religious duties. She relied on reading lips and written communication to interact with others. Her condition did not stop her from continuing her daily spiritual routine. She allegedly experienced what she believed were spiritual encounters during her time in the convent. These included moments of prayer, where she felt guided or spoken to in ways she believed were not ordinary. These experiences were personal and not always shared widely at first. Over time, however, they became part of the larger story that attracted attention from church authorities. As the years passed, she became known for her patience and endurance. Even when she was sick or in pain, she continued her prayers. She spent long hours in quiet reflection before the Eucharist. Her life was not active in the public sense. Instead, it was hidden and simple. Yet for those who observed her closely, she was deeply committed to her faith. In her later years, she allegedly continued to focus on prayer and sacrifice. She often encouraged ideas of offering personal suffering for the good of others. She believed that even small acts of prayer could have meaning. She did not present herself as someone important. Instead, she remained humble and avoided attention as much as possible. Many pilgrims who visited the convent over time reportedly saw her as a quiet spiritual figure. When she met visitors, it was often in private and simple settings. She would pray with them or offer short words of encouragement. She did not speak in dramatic ways or try to draw attention to herself. Her focus remained on prayer and religious devotion. As she grew older, her health slowly became weaker. She continued to live within the convent under care. Even with age and illness, she reportedly kept her daily prayer life. She prayed the rosary and spent time in silence. She remained connected to her religious community until her final years. Sister Agnes Sasagawa allegedly passed away on August 15, 2024, at the age of 93. Her death reportedly happened on a significant religious feast day, which many believers found meaningful. She died of natural causes after a long life marked by illness, prayer, and devotion. Her funeral was simple and private, attended mainly by her religious community. Later, a public service was held for those who wished to pay respect. After her death, interest in her life and the Akita events reportedly increased again. Pilgrims began visiting the site in greater numbers. People came to pray, reflect, and remember her story. Some viewed her life as an example of faith during suffering. Others were curious about the events connected to her name. Religious scholars and researchers also continued to study her case. They examined her life, the reported messages, and the impact of the Akita events on modern religious belief. While opinions differ widely, the story remains an important subject in discussions about private revelations and modern spirituality. Her legacy is often summarized through a few key ideas. Prayer was central to everything she did. Repentance was another major theme in her messages and lifestyle. She also emphasized sacrifice, believing that suffering could be offered for spiritual benefit. Faith during hardship became one of the strongest parts of her story. Devotion to the Eucharist and the Rosary remained important throughout her life. Finally, perseverance through pain defined much of her personal journey. Sister Agnes Sasagawa allegedly left behind a story that continues to influence believers and researchers alike. Whether viewed as spiritual truth or personal belief, her life continues to be discussed, studied, and remembered by many people around the world. If these messages were truly meant to guide people, what happens when they are claimed to be hidden, reinterpreted, and connected to events unfolding in the modern world? Stay tuned for more. Suppression claims and faith-based interpretations of modern events. There is a belief among some people that an important truth connected to the Akita events has not been fully shared with the public. It is claimed that this truth has been hidden or ignored for many years. Some supporters believe that the story is not fully accepted in certain religious circles and that it has been pushed away from public discussion. They think the message is still important, but it is not being talked about openly in the way they expect. This idea creates the feeling that something serious happened, but it has not been fully explained or accepted everywhere. The report also claims that Sister Agnes Sasagawa was moved to a quiet and far place after the events became known. It is said that she lived in a remote monastery in Japan, where she did not have much contact with the outside world. According to this view, she was not allowed or encouraged to speak freely about what she experienced. It is also said that she could not attend public religious events or give interviews. Some accounts even claim that her letters and communication were watched closely. Because of this, supporters believe she lived in silence and separation, away from public attention, for many years. The report also connects the Akita messages with earlier religious events known as Fatima. It says that the messages from Akita are seen by some believers as a continuation of the warnings given in Fatima. These warnings are believed to speak about problems inside the church, such as disagreement among leaders and moral problems in society. The idea is that both Akita and Fatima are linked and carry similar messages. People who believe this connection say that Akita repeats or continues the same warning themes that were first mentioned in Fatima many years before. This creates a belief that both events are part of one long message that stretches across time and speaks about danger, change, and spiritual warning. The report then shares a personal story about a woman named Donatella, which is used as an example of change through faith. It says she had a very difficult life from early years. She faced pain in her family, emotional suffering, and problems that made her life very hard. She is described as someone who felt lost and tried many things to find peace. Later, she is said to have found help through religious guidance and spiritual practice connected to Medjugorje. This experience is presented as a turning point in her life. It is claimed that she slowly moved away from her past struggles and began to live a more stable and peaceful life through prayer and belief. The report then explains that forgiveness is the most important part of her story. It says that Donatella faced a very painful situation in her marriage when she discovered betrayal. Instead of reacting with anger or breaking everything apart, she chose to forgive quickly. She is described as speaking calmly and handling the situation without violence or revenge. She also spoke to the other person involved in a peaceful way and told her to focus on family and responsibility. This action is shown as a strong choice that helped bring peace instead of more conflict. The final message of the report focuses on hope and faith. It says that even though there are warnings about danger, conflict, and problems in the world, the strongest message is still about prayer and trust in God. It explains that prayer, especially the Rosary, is seen as a way to stay strong during difficult times. People are encouraged to keep faith and not lose hope, even when the world feels troubled. The message says that believing, praying, and staying calm can help people face fear and uncertainty. In the end, the report presents hope as the final answer to fear, and it encourages people to hold on to faith, stay united in prayer, and trust that peace can still be found even in hard times. If earlier warnings were already pointing toward global disruption and spiritual crisis, what new meaning emerges when a long-hidden letter is said to resurface and reshape how those warnings are understood? Let's take a closer look. The alleged Akita letter, Vatican silence, and prophecies of global warning. A long-hidden religious message linked to a Japanese nun known for reported spiritual experiences has come back into attention in 2025. A letter said to have been kept in a secure Vatican location for many years is described as having been opened or rediscovered after a long period of silence. This letter is presented as containing final warnings connected to earlier messages associated with Akita. It is said to have remained out of public view and protected within church storage for decades. A senior church figure, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, is said to have been given access to this restricted material. After reading it, he is described as becoming emotionally overwhelmed, staying silent for a long time, and appearing deeply affected by what he encountered. These reactions come from unnamed accounts and reported observations rather than confirmed official statements. The contents of the letter are described as speaking about a future time of major global difficulty. This period is explained as a great shaking that will affect both the natural world and religious life. Strong earthquakes in different regions are mentioned, along with unusual events in the sky and possible destruction of major religious buildings, including a cathedral. These events are presented as warning signs of a serious coming crisis. Recent natural disasters are also linked to these warnings. Large wildfires, volcanic eruptions, and ongoing environmental instability are connected to the same pattern of predicted events. These occurrences are treated as possible confirmation of earlier warnings about future hardship and global disturbance. The message then shifts toward human response and decision-making. Two paths are placed before people. One path is faith, prayer, and returning to spiritual practice. The other path is confusion, division, and moving away from belief. A strong emphasis is placed on the need for prayer and devotion as a way to remain steady during uncertain times. Simple religious practices are presented as protection and guidance through difficulty. The overall picture builds toward a moment of urgency where choices are important and carry deep meaning for the future. Humanity is shown standing at a point where actions, belief, and direction are said to matter more than ever before, with a call to remain alert, faithful, and grounded in prayer as events continue to unfold. Taken together, these claims remain unverified and come from narrative accounts, not confirmed evidence or official church declarations. Still, stories like this tend to gain attention because they touch on fear, faith and uncertainty about the future. Even without confirmation, they reflect how people try to make sense of global events by linking them to deeper spiritual meaning. Whether viewed as symbolism, belief, or speculation, the discussion shows how strongly such ideas can resonate when the world feels unstable or hard to predict. What do you think about Sister Sasagawa's chilling prophecy? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for following this journey into the chilling story linked to Sister Sasagawa and the alleged Akita messages. If it made you think differently about faith, like and subscribe. Click the next video to continue exploring more chilling revelations. See you there.